Captain Elena Voss stood at the observation deck of the Human Coalition flagship, watching the stars drift by in silence. She had been in space for 12 years, long enough to know that silence was never truly empty. It carried weight. It carried meaning. And right now, it carried something that felt like a warning. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for 30 years. 3 decades of peace, trade, and careful diplomacy. Humanity had entered the galaxy quietly, almost apologetically. They had no grand fleets, no ancient weapons, no territorial claims that stretched across star systems. They simply asked to learn, to trade, and to exist among the older races. The Council had evaluated them thoroughly. Psychological profiles, military capability assessments, cultural analysis. The result was clear and unanimous. Humanity was ranked as a Level 2 species, harmless, non-threatening, useful for labor and minor trade, but not a species that would ever shape galactic politics. Elena had read the report herself. It described humans as emotional, short-lived, and lacking the strategic depth of older civilizations. The report suggested humanity might serve well in support roles, mining, agriculture, perhaps even art, if they showed enough skill. But never leadership, never war, never power. She had smiled when she first read it. A bitter, knowing smile. The galaxy had no idea what it was measuring. Her communicator buzzed. It was Commander Zhao, her second-in-command. His voice was tight with controlled anger. "Captain, you need to see this. Council chambers. Live feed." Elena moved quickly through the corridors. Other crew members watched her pass, their faces showing the same tension she felt. Something had changed. Something big. The briefing room was already full when she arrived. Officers, diplomats, analysts, all of them staring at the main screen. The Galactic Council chamber appeared before them, vast and cold. 12 species sat in their seats of power, their forms ranging from insectoid to crystalline to shapes that barely held physical form. At the center stood Ambassador Keln of the Vrex Dominion. The Vrex were old, ancient really. They had ruled a quarter of the galaxy for 6,000 years. Their empire was built on calculated conquest and perfect diplomacy. They never acted without certainty. Keln's voice resonated through the chamber, translated instantly into every known language. The human territories will be reduced by 40%. Their trade rights will be limited to essential goods only. Their military will be restricted to defensive stations around their home system. These terms are not negotiable. They are a correction. Silence followed. Not agreement, not protest, just silence. Elena felt her hands tighten into fists. The human ambassador, Marcus Webb, stood slowly. He was an old man, 70 years of careful negotiation etched into every line of his face. His voice was steady, but his words carried an edge that Elena recognized. "On what grounds?" Keln tilted his head, an almost curious gesture. "You have expanded too quickly for a Level 2 species. Your colony's number 47. Your trade routes intersect with those of 6 major powers. You have begun to ask questions about council decisions that do not concern you. This is not hostility, Ambassador Webb. This is course correction. You were ranked harmless. You were expected to remain so." Marcus Webb stood silent for a long moment. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "And if we refuse?" The chamber shifted. Not visibly, but Elena could feel it through the screen. Every species present suddenly became more alert. More focused, Keln's reply was calm. Almost kind. "Then the Council will demonstrate why rankings exist. The Vrex fleet will begin with your outermost colonies. We will be efficient. We will be thorough. And when it is done, humanity will understand its place. We are offering you a choice, Ambassador. Accept limitation or accept correction." Marcus Webb looked directly into the camera. For just a moment, Elena felt like he was looking at her. "At all of them. I need 48 hours to consult with my government." Keln nodded. "You have 24. The transmission ended. The briefing room erupted into voices, anger, fear, disbelief. Elena let them talk for 30 seconds. Then she spoke. Quiet. The room fell silent. She looked at each face one by one. "They think we are harmless. They think we will fold or break. They have studied us for 30 years and decided we are not worth fearing. That is their mistake. That is the only advantage we have." Commander Zhao stepped forward. "Captain, the Vrex fleet is 300 ships strong. Each ship carries weapons that could crack a moon. We have 78 vessels total, and most of them are cargo transports. If we fight, we lose. If we fight, Earth itself might burn. Elena nodded slowly. I know the numbers, Commander. I also know something the Vrex do not. They have never fought a species that measures war in generations instead of years. They have never fought a species that turned an entire planet into a weapon just to prove a point. They ranked us harmless because they measured our ships, our guns, our territory. They never measured our memory. They never measured our spite. She turned back to the screen, now dark and empty. Get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen at Titan Station, and wake up every intelligence officer we have. I want to know everything about the Vrex, their culture, their history, their wars. I want to know what they love and what they fear. Because in 24 hours they are going to learn what it means to challenge a species they do not understand. The room began to move with purpose now. Orders were given, channels opened, data streams activated. Elena stood alone for a moment longer, staring at the empty screen. The galaxy had ranked humanity as harmless. That ranking was about to cost them more than they could imagine. The intelligence room hummed with quiet intensity. Screens covered every wall, displaying data streams, historical records, and real-time updates from across human space. Elena had not slept. Neither had most of her crew. 24 hours was not enough time to plan a war, but it was enough time to understand your enemy. Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood at the main display, her fingers moving through holographic data with practiced speed. She had been an intelligence analyst before joining the fleet, specializing in xenocultural studies. Right now, she was worth more than a battleship. Captain, I think I found something. Elena moved to her side. The display showed a historical record, written in Vrex script with human translation running beneath it. What am I looking at? Sarah pulled up a timeline. The Vrex Dominion has fought 14 major wars in the last 6,000 years. They won 13 of them. Perfect record except for one. 4,000 years ago, they encountered a species called the Keth. Small territory, minimal technology. The Council ranked them as level 1. Harmless, primitive. Elena studied the data. What happened? The Vrex tried to annex their territory for resources. It should have been simple. 3 months, maximum. But the Keth did something unexpected. They refused to fight the Vrex military directly. Instead, they attacked Vrex culture. Elena frowned. Explain. Sarah brought up new data. Images, records, intercepted communications. The Keth were experts in mimetic warfare. They did not try to destroy Vrex ships. They tried to destroy Vrex belief. They infiltrated their communication networks and began spreading a simple idea. They claimed that the Vrex Empire was built on a lie, that the Vrex were not chosen by fate to rule, but had simply been lucky. Again and again they hammered this message. The Vrex Empire is an accident. The Vrex Empire is temporary. The Vrex Empire will fall. Elena felt something cold move through her chest. And it worked? It took 3 years, but yes. The Vrex military remained strong, but their society began to fracture. Doubt spread. Internal conflicts erupted. By the time the Vrex finally destroyed the last Keth stronghold, their empire had lost 2 entire sectors to civil war. It took them 200 years to fully recover. Commander Zhao had joined them, listening intently. So the Vrex are vulnerable to psychological warfare. But, Captain, we do not have 3 years. We have hours. Elena stared at the data, her mind racing. What did the Council do about the Kith? Sarah's expression darkened. They erased them. Every record. Every mention. The Keth are not in any official database. This information only exists because one of our deep space monitoring stations intercepted an old Vrex military archive during a data leak 5 years ago. We almost deleted it as corrupted data. Elena turned away from the screen, thinking. The galaxy had ranked humanity as harmless because they measured the wrong things. They counted ships and weapons. They analyzed human psychology based on surface behavior. They saw emotions and called it weakness. They saw short lifespans and called it insignificance. But they had never measured humanity's true strength. They had never measured what humans did when they were cornered. Get me Ambassador Webb. Secure channel. Encryption level black. The screen flickered to life moments later. Marcus Webb appeared, looking exhausted but alert. Behind him, Elena could see the dim lights of a government bunker somewhere deep beneath Earth's surface. Captain Voss. I'm guessing you did not call to tell me you found a diplomatic solution. No, Ambassador. I called to tell you there is a way to win, but it requires us to do something the galaxy has never seen before. Marcus leaned forward. I am listening. The Vrex are vulnerable to mimetic attack. Cultural warfare. We cannot beat their fleet, but we can break their civilization. We can plant doubt so deep that their empire tears itself apart from within. Marcus was silent for a long moment. That kind of warfare takes years, Captain. We have hours, not if we do it right. Not if we make them believe that humanity is not what they think we are. Not if we make every species in the galaxy question the rankings, question the council, question everything. Marcus rubbed his face, suddenly looking older. What are you proposing? Elena took a breath. We are going to surrender. The silence on the channel was absolute. Then Marcus spoke, his voice carefully controlled. Explain. We are going to accept every demand the Vrex made. We are going to reduce our territory, limit our trade, restrict our military. We are going to do it publicly, humbly. We are going to look exactly like the harmless species they ranked us as. And then we are going to show them what a harmless species can do when it decides to stop being harmless. We are going to use the one weapon the galaxy has never prepared for. We are going to tell the truth. Marcus frowned. What truth? Elena pulled up the Keth data and transmitted it to his screen. The truth about what happened 4,000 years ago. The truth about how the Council erased an entire species from history because they threatened the power structure. The truth about how the rankings are not scientific measurements, but political tools designed to keep young species weak and divided. She paused, letting the weight of it settle. We are going to make every level 2 and level 3 species in the galaxy realize they have been controlled, manipulated, kept small on purpose, and we are going to offer them an alternative. Not conquest, not empire, just freedom. The freedom to grow without permission. Marcus stared at the data, his expression unreadable. This could start a galactic war, Captain. It could. Or it could start a galactic revolution. Either way, the Vrex will not see it coming. Neither will the Council, because they ranked us as harmless, because they thought we would be too afraid to challenge the system. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, then opened them with new resolve. I will need 12 hours to coordinate with Earth Command and our allies. Can you hold the fleet ready? The fleet is ready, Ambassador. It has been ready since the moment the Vrex made their threat. Then let us show the galaxy what humanity really is. Not harmless, not weak, just patient, and very, very angry. The channel closed. Elena turned back to her crew. They had heard everything. Every word, every implication. Prepare the data packages. I want the Keth information translated into every major galactic language. I want it ready to broadcast on every channel, every network, every communication system we can reach. And I want it timed to go live the moment Ambassador Webb makes his surrender speech. Commander Zhao smiled. It was not a kind smile. The Vrex wanted to teach us our place. Instead, we are going to teach the galaxy theirs. Elena nodded. And we are going to do it with the one thing they cannot shoot down. The truth. The council chambers were filled beyond capacity. Every species with representation had sent delegates. The event was being broadcast across the entire galaxy. It was not every day that a species surrendered publicly. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood at the center of the chamber, small and human among beings that had ruled stars before Earth had even developed written language. He carried no weapons, no guards, just a data tablet and the weight of an entire species on his shoulders. Keln of the Vrex Dominion watched from his seat with something approaching satisfaction. This was how the galaxy maintained order, through demonstration, through examples, through the clear and undeniable enforcement of hierarchy. Marcus began to speak. Members of the Galactic Council, representatives of the great civilizations, I stand before you today to announce that humanity accepts the terms presented by the Vrex Dominion. We will reduce our territorial claims by 40%. We will restrict our trade to essential goods. We will limit our military to defensive positions around our home system. The chamber remained silent, listening. We accept these terms because we understand our place in the galactic order. We are young. We are inexperienced. We are, as your assessments have correctly identified, a level 2 species. Harmless, non-threatening. Keln nodded slightly. This was proceeding exactly as predicted. Marcus looked down at his tablet, then back up at the assembly. But before we formalize this agreement, I believe the Council and all gathered species deserve to know something. Something that was hidden from the historical record. Something that explains why these rankings exist at all. Keln's expression changed. Just slightly. Just enough. What is the human ambassador doing? He asked his aide quietly. Marcus continued, his voice steady and clear. 4,000 years ago, a species called the Keth challenged the Vrex dominion. They were ranked level 1, completely harmless. They had no significant military, no advanced weapons, no political power, but they had something else. They had the ability to ask questions. He tapped his tablet. Across the galaxy, on every screen, on every network that humanity could reach, data began to flow. Historical records, Vrex military archives, intercepted communications. The entire story of the Keth laid bare for all to see. The Keth asked a simple question. Why do the rankings exist? Not how they are calculated, but why. And when they looked closely, they found something interesting. The rankings are not scientific measurements of capability. They are political tools designed to prevent young species from ever challenging the old ones. The chamber erupted into noise, voices raised in protest, confusion, demand for clarification. Keln rose to his feet, his voice cutting through the chaos. This is a desperate fiction created by a species facing correction. The Keth are not in any historical record because they never existed as anything more than a minor territorial dispute. Marcus smiled. It was a sad smile. Then explain the military archives. Explain the communication intercepts. Explain why the Vrex Empire lost 2 entire sectors to civil war in the years following the Keth extinction. Explain why every mention of them was systematically erased from council databases. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of species. And while you are explaining that, explain why 70% of the galaxy species are ranked level 2 or below. Explain why the council has remained unchanged in composition for 3,000 years. Explain why every time a young species begins to grow, they are suddenly re-evaluated and restrictions are applied. The noise in the chamber had changed. It was no longer just confusion. It was realization. A delegate from the Tarn Collective, an insectoid species ranked level 2, stood slowly. Is this true? Were the Keth erased? Another voice joined. This one from the Helion Assembly. We have experienced similar restrictions. We were told it was for galactic stability. More voices rose. More questions. More doubt. Keln's voice cut through again, sharper now. The human is spreading chaos. This is exactly the behavior that proves their species requires correction. They are dangerous not because of their military, but because of their willingness to destroy order. Marcus turned to face Keln directly. No. We are dangerous because we ask questions you do not want answered. We are dangerous because we do not accept that power is permanent. We are dangerous because we believe that a galaxy based on keeping species weak is a galaxy that deserves to change. He paused, letting the words settle. Humanity surrenders to the Vrex demands. We accept our place as you have defined it, but we do so with full knowledge of what that place means, and we share that knowledge with every species here. What you do with that information is your choice. The transmission ended. Back on the Coalition flagship, Elena watched the chaos unfold across 100 worlds. The information was spreading faster than anyone could contain. The Keth records were being analyzed, verified, discussed. Species that had never questioned their rankings were suddenly holding emergency councils. Trade networks were disrupting. Political alliances were fracturing. Commander Zhao stood beside her, his expression grim. It is working. But Captain, the Vrex fleet is moving. They are not heading for our colonies. They are heading for the communication hubs. They're going to try to shut down the data spread by force. Elena had expected this. How long until they reach the first hub? 16 hours. And our fleet? We can be there in 12. But Captain, if we engage them, we break the surrender. The entire strategy falls apart. Elena turned to face him. The strategy was never about the surrender, Commander. The surrender was bait. The information was the weapon. But now we need to give the galaxy something more. We need to give them a choice. Stand with the old order or stand with change. She activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships. This is Captain Voss. We are moving to intercept the Vrex fleet at Hub Station 7. We are not going there to fight. We are going there to protect the free flow of information. If the Vrex fire on us, they will prove everything we said. If they back down, they admit their weakness. Either way, we win. She paused, letting the weight of it settle on every crew member listening. But I will not lie to you. There is a strong chance that many of us will not survive this. The Vrex have 300 warships. We have 78, and most of them were never meant for combat. If you want to leave, leave now. No judgment, no consequences. This is not your war unless you choose to make it yours. The channel was silent for a long moment. Then Commander Zhao spoke. All ships reporting ready, Captain. No one is leaving. Elena felt something break open in her chest. Pride, fear, hope, all of it mixed together into something she could barely name. Then let us go show the galaxy what a harmless species looks like when it decides to stop being harmless. All ships, jump on my mark. The fleet moved as one, disappearing into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, across the galaxy, the information continued to spread. The questions continued to grow. The foundations of the old order began to shake, and at Hub Station 7, the Rex fleet was already waiting. Hub Station 7 hung in space like a small metal moon, its communication arrays stretching out in every direction. It was one of 43 stations that formed the backbone of galactic information exchange. Control it, and you controlled what the galaxy knew. The VRX fleet had arrived 6 hours earlier. 300 warships arranged in perfect formation, their weapons powered but not yet active. They did not need to fire. Their presence alone was a statement. Elena's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 78 ships, most of them retrofitted cargo vessels with light armament. Against the VRX fleet, they looked like children playing with toys. Commander Zhao stood at the tactical station, his face pale but controlled. The VRX are hailing us. Put them through. Keln's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. Not physically, but spiritually. Like a man who had seen something break that he thought was unbreakable. Captain Voss, I will give you credit. Your species has caused more disruption in 48 hours than most species cause in a century. The information you released has spread to 147 worlds. 17 species are currently holding emergency governmental sessions. 4 trade agreements have been suspended. 2 minor conflicts have erupted over territorial disputes that were previously suppressed by council mediation. He paused, his expression unreadable. You have destabilized the galaxy. I hope you are proud. Elena met his gaze without flinching. I am not proud. I am tired. Tired of being told that humanity's place is to remain small. Tired of watching other species accept chains they do not even know they are wearing. Tired of a galaxy that punishes growth and rewards stagnation. Keln leaned forward. And what do you think will replace the order we have built? Freedom, equality. You are naive, Captain. The galaxy is full of species far more dangerous than the VRX. The rankings exist because without them, the strong would consume the weak without limit. The Council maintains order because chaos is worse than restriction. Elena felt the truth in his words. It was a truth she had been avoiding since this began. Maybe you are right. Maybe the galaxy needs order. But order built on lies is just control with better public relations. The Keth were erased because they threatened that control. How many other species were erased? How many were prevented from growing? How many never got the chance to prove what they could become? Keln was silent for a moment. The Keth were erased because they would have destroyed the VRX Empire. They were a mimetic virus, Captain. They did not want freedom. They wanted to burn everything we had built. The Council made the choice to save billions of lives by ending millions. Elena felt the words hit like physical blows. And who gave the Council the right to make that choice? Power gave us that right. The same power that humanity is now trying to claim. The channel went silent. Both of them knew the conversation was over. Keln spoke once more, his voice formal and final. Captain Voss, withdraw your fleet from this system. The hub station will be shut down temporarily to contain the information spread. This is not negotiable. If you do not withdraw, we will interpret your presence as an act of war. Elena looked at her crew. They were afraid. They were exhausted. But they were still here. We are not withdrawing. This station remains open, or the galaxy will know that the VRX enforce their power through censorship and fear. Keln closed his eyes briefly. Then you have chosen. The channel closed. Tactical alarms began to sound across the bridge. The VRX fleet was powering weapons. 300 ships beginning their attack patterns. Commander Zhao's voice was steady despite everything. Captain, we cannot win this fight. We need to retreat. Elena knew he was right. Every strategic analysis said the same thing. But strategy was not the point anymore. If we retreat, the galaxy sees humanity run. They see us talk about change and then flee when change becomes dangerous. We stay. Captain, please. She turned to face him. I am not ordering anyone to die, Commander. Any ship that wants to leave can leave. But I am staying. This station remains open. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the communication systems activated across the fleet. One by one, ship captains reported in. Transport vessel Lunar Dawn standing by. Mining ship Titan's hand holding position. Cargo hauler New Beijing ready. 78 voices. 78 choices to stand. Elena felt tears she did not know she was holding break free. The Vrex fleet opened fire. The first salvo tore through 3 human ships instantly. They did not explode dramatically like in old Earth movies. They simply stopped existing, torn apart by weapons designed to crack planetary defenses. The human fleet returned fire. Their weapons were weaker, slower, less accurate. But they fired anyway. Another salvo. 5 more ships gone. Elena watched the tactical display as her fleet died around her. Each dot that disappeared was a ship. Each ship was a crew. Each crew was hundreds of people who had chosen to stand for something they believed in. The Vrex were not even slowing down. Commander Zhao's voice was quiet now, almost gentle. Captain, we have to go. If the flagship dies, this entire action becomes meaningless. We have to survive to tell what happened here. Elena wanted to argue. Wanted to stay. Wanted to make this mean something. But he was right. All remaining ships, retreat. Full emergency jump. Get out of the system. The order went out. 22 ships remained. They began jumping away one by one, escaping while the Vrex focused on the hub station itself. Elena's flagship was the last to leave. As they initiated the jump, she watched the Vrex fleet surround the station. They were not destroying it. They were securing it, taking control. The galaxy's information flow was about to be cut. The jump engaged, and the system disappeared behind them. In the silence that followed, Elena sat in her command chair and tried to understand what they had just lost. 56 ships, thousands of lives, and the hub station was now under Vrex control. Commander Zhao put a hand on her shoulder. It was not meaningless, Captain. The galaxy watched. They saw us stand. They saw the Vrex fire first. They saw everything. Elena nodded slowly, but it did not feel like victory. It felt like drowning. Across the galaxy, the information continued to spread, but now it came with a new message. Humanity had challenged the Vrex. The Vrex had answered with overwhelming force. The old order had reasserted itself, and Elena could not shake the feeling that they had just made everything worse. 3 days passed in silence. The human fleet had retreated to the outer edges of their reduced territory, licking wounds that went deeper than hull damage. The Vrex had secured 6 more hub stations, choking the flow of information across the galaxy. The Council had issued a formal statement declaring humanity's actions as reckless and destabilizing. Everything seemed to be returning to order, but something was wrong. Elena saw it first in the reports from their intelligence network. Small things, strange things. The Vrex fleet had not pursued them after the battle. The Council had not issued further restrictions on humanity. No additional punishments were declared. It was like the entire galaxy was holding its breath. Commander Zhao entered the command center carrying a data tablet. His expression unreadable. Captain, you need to see this. It is coming from inside the Vrex Dominion. Elena took the tablet. The screen showed an intercepted communication translated from Vrex script. It was marked as internal military correspondence, not meant for outside eyes. She read it twice to make sure she understood. Is this verified? 3 separate intelligence sources. All confirmed. Captain, the Vrex are fracturing. Elena looked at the message again. It was from a Vrex military commander to the Dominion High Command. The words were simple, but their implications were staggering. We have contained the human military action, but we cannot contain the questions. Our own civilian population is accessing the Keth data. They are asking why it was hidden. They are asking what else has been hidden. We have suppressed 4 protests in the last 24 hours. Recommend immediate political reformation to address civilian concerns before they escalate into systemic instability. Zhao pulled up more data. It is not just the Vrex, Captain. 17 Level 2 species have formed what they are calling the Coalition for Galactic Reform. They are demanding a full review of the ranking system. 31 species have suspended their council contributions until an investigation into the Keth erasure is completed. The Helion Assembly has withdrawn from council sessions entirely. Elena felt something shift in her understanding. We did not lose at Hub Station 7. We won. We just did not realize what victory looked like. Zhao nodded slowly. The Vrex wanted to demonstrate their power. Instead, they demonstrated their fear. Every species in the galaxy watched them fire on unarmed cargo ships to protect information control. They saw exactly what you wanted them to see. Elena stood, her mind racing. Get me a secure channel to Ambassador Webb. and pull up everything we have on council voting procedures. I want to know how new members are approved." 6 hours later, Ambassador Marcus Webb stood once again in the council chambers. But this time he was not alone. Beside him stood representatives from 43 species. Some were level 2, some were level 3. 2 were unranked, having been denied council membership for decades. The chamber was full. Every species with a voice had sent someone. Even those who supported the old order wanted to see what would happen next. Keln sat in the Vrex seat, his expression carefully neutral. But Elena, watching from the fleet, could see the tension in his posture. He knew what was coming. Marcus spoke into the silence. "Members of the Galactic Council, I stand before you with representatives of 43 species to make a formal proposal. We propose the formation of a new council structure. One where membership is not limited to ancient powers. One where rankings are advisory rather than restrictive. One where young species have a voice in the decisions that shape their futures." Keln rose to respond. The human ambassador proposes chaos. "The current council structure has maintained galactic stability for thousands of years. To change it now, based on the manipulated emotions of a few days, would be monumentally foolish." Marcus nodded. "You are right. The council has maintained stability, but stability is not the same as justice. Stability is not the same as growth. And stability built on information control and systematic suppression is not stability at all. It is just slow stagnation." He pulled up a holographic display showing the current council structure. 12 species hold permanent seats. 73 species hold rotating seats with limited voting power. 211 species have observer status only, and 467 species are classified as too primitive for any representation. This is not a galactic government. This is an oligarchy that has convinced itself it serves the greater good. Another delegate stood. This one was from the Tarn Collective, a species humanity had never interacted with before. The human speaks truth. "My species has been ranked level 2 for 800 years. Every time we approach the threshold for level 3 status, new restrictions are applied, new requirements are added. We are told it is for our own safety. But we have seen the Keth data. We have seen what happens to species that grow too quickly. They are erased, not evaluated, not guided, erased. More voices joined. More species standing. More years of frustration finally given words." Keln tried to respond, but his voice was drowned out by the rising tide. Elena watched it happen in real time. The old order cracking, not because of weapons, not because of war, but because someone had finally asked the questions that everyone had been afraid to ask. The vote was called. It was not binding. It was not official, but it was a message. Should the Galactic Council be restructured to allow broader representation and remove ranking-based restrictions on species development? The results came in slowly. Each species voting, each choice meaning something. When it finished, the display showed the outcome. 237 species in favor, 43 species opposed, 62 species abstaining. Marcus Webb turned to face Keln directly. "The galaxy has spoken. Not with weapons. Not with threats, but with voices that you tried very hard to keep silent. Humanity will remain in our reduced territory. We will accept the restrictions placed upon us, but we will do so as part of a galaxy that is changing, a galaxy that is finally growing up." Keln stood slowly. For a long moment, Elena thought he might call for military action, might try to use force to restore the old order. But instead, he spoke quietly. "The Vrex Dominion will respect the vote. We will participate in the restructuring process. But know this, humanity. Change is easy to demand. It is much harder to manage. You have broken the old order. Now you will have to help build whatever comes next. And if that new order fails, if it leads to chaos and suffering, that failure will be yours to carry." Marcus met his gaze without flinching. "We know, and we accept that responsibility." The transmission ended. Back on the flagship, Elena sat in the command chair and felt the weight of everything that had happened finally settle on her shoulders. Commander Zhao sat beside her. "Captain, we are receiving messages from all over the galaxy, species wanting to talk, to coordinate, to build this new council structure. They are calling us heroes." Elena smiled, but it was a tired smile. "We are not heroes, Commander. We are just people who asked questions that needed asking. The real work starts now. Building something better than what we tore down." She looked out at the stars, the same stars she had been watching when this all began. The galaxy ranked humanity as harmless. They measured our weapons and found them weak. They measured our territory and found it small. They measured our age and found it young, but they never measured the one thing that mattered. They never measured our refusal to accept that small was all we could ever be. Zhao nodded slowly. So what do we do now? Elena stood, feeling the exhaustion in her bones, but also something else. Something that felt like hope. Now we proved that change was worth the cost. We help build a council that serves all species, not just the old ones. We make sure that what happened to the Keth never happens again. And we show the galaxy that humanity was never harmless. We were just waiting for the right moment to prove we were something more. She walked to the window, watching the distant stars. The Vrex challenged us, thinking we would break. Instead, we challenged the entire galaxy, and the galaxy chose to change. That is not the end of anything. That is just the beginning. The fleet began moving again, this time not away from conflict, but toward coordination, toward building, toward something that had never existed before. In the weeks that followed, the restructuring began. It was messy. It was complicated. Species that had never spoken to each other were suddenly forced to negotiate. Ancient grievances surfaced. New conflicts emerged. The process was painful and slow, but it was happening. The Vrex Dominion, surprisingly, became one of the most active participants. Keln himself led their delegation, his approach methodical and careful. In a private channel with Elena, he had explained his reasoning. If change is inevitable, then we must shape it. Better to guide the transformation than to be swept away by it. Elena had respected that. It was not surrender. It was adaptation, the thing that had kept the Vrex alive for 6,000 years. 3 months after the vote, the new council structure was formally proposed. It would take 2 years to fully implement, but the framework was clear. Membership would be open to any species that met basic criteria for technological and social development. Rankings would still exist, but they would be descriptive rather than restrictive. No species would be prevented from growing simply because they grew too fast, and the galaxy would never be the same.